Yo guys, welcome back to another Shadow of War video. I've had quite a few people request that I show off my skill tree and to give a little bit of advice on what you guys should choose as you level up. As you can see, I've unlocked all of the base skills. I'm just working my way to completely, like, fully upgrade all of the masterwork, the prestige items, which I'll show you in a second. But going through them quickly, this is what I'd recommend. So all of these large icons are the base skill. You just have to unlock those eventually, and then you can select one of the three options. So this is the base execution skill. I choose Grim Resolve, which is to gain might each time you're damaged in combat. This isn't really very useful when you're fighting hacked orcs and stuff because they'll just one-shot you. But Secret Might is not. It's even less useful, if you will. And then Fatal Might is very useful, especially when you have the Mask of the Undying, which I'm using now. You can like dash through people to build up your might and hit streak, but it's a sort of high risk, high reward thing. You can like lose all of your might without that meaning to. So I think the safe option for most people is going to be Grim Resolve. Next up is Perfect Counter, which will knock down the enemy as you counter them, and I change that to Fatal Counter, so it kills them. This is really good if you're surrounded by loads of grunts. You can just wait for them to attack you and to do that. Some of the others you can use if you want to, but I go Fatal Counter. Next up, Critical Strike. Melee attacks have a chance of causing critical hits for additional damage. I choose Unstoppable here. With the Wrathgiver builds, you're going to build up hit streak very quickly with stuff like Elven Light and your Glaive and stuff like that. And the higher your hit streak is, the more damage you're going to do with the crits. Or the more likely you are to hit crits, which is where you do big damage. Crit hits are like absolutely essential for taking out hacked orcs. They are so useful. I would recommend this. And I think the others you can do if you like the feel of them, but for me it's all about hit streak. Okay, Ground Finisher. There's only one option here, and it's Fury. This is the one where you can jump on top of them and you can consistently punch them. This will build up your combo, your hit streak, as well as your might, and it does the most damage of all of the other types. This is also really good for when you're farming Wrathgiver, because you need to kill them with the ground execution in order to get the Wrathgiver sword, at least from what we understand. Next up, Brutal Aggression, which is where your might can be double charged. I then go Ceaseless Might, so skills that require might no longer fully deplete it. So this will go from 2 bars down to 1 bar. Again, very useful for when trying to build Wrath. I wouldn't even think about selecting the other option, to be honest. Next up, Retaliation. This is about surviving near-death encounters with a timed event. I go Adamant, which gives you an additional last chance attempt. To be honest, most of the time when you're fighting hacked orcs, they all have no chance. So this is kind of useless, but it's probably better than the others. Retaliation drains and gain full might. I don't really think it's very useful. So at least give yourself another option to survive. I'm going to show all the prestige stats at the end because they're a bit different to the rest of the stats in that area. Okay, Elven Agility. That's just standard, allows you to jump up things very quickly. I then go Spectral Dash. So with Mask of the Undying, it gives you Waters of Lorien and Spectral Dash for free without using Focus. So, of course, you're going to use that. Brutalize. Oh, God. I then go Unyielding Ferocity, which gives a bonus to your might and hit streak when using a Brutalize. The other one is Reckless Hate, causing enemies to flee. Again, isn't really very useful when you're fighting like high level forts and stuff like that. Not very useful at all. Poison Tendril. This is like poisoning a grog barrel. I've recently changed this to proximity trigger instead of like allowing the poison to spread or making the poison guys explode and stuff like that. I don't really find any of these particularly useful, if I'm totally honest. But if you're going to go full stealth, then I guess proximity trigger is quite useful. Wraith Chain. For this one, I choose Shadowblade. Your first chain stealth kill consumes no focus. This is quite useful for when you stealth attack someone and then you can extend the chain to a captain. If they're immune to stealth, it's not going to hurt them anyway. But The other option is using stealth kills against beasts, which I really don't find very useful at all. Deadly Spectre, so you can make your Wraith kill someone in a stealth attack. I don't do this. I literally barely ever use this skill. I equip the Brutalize one because the other ones drain, and I don't really need that. Death Threat. This is very useful for farming Wrathgiver again. I choose Worse Than Death. This allows you to shame them, and it can possibly create deranged or even maniac orcs. Shaming you can do without having this upgrade, but it's still quite useful if you're trying to farm a really powerful orc or trying to train them. Like you can sort of train them up to have different skills. And the Vow of Violence isn't really very useful in my opinion. Okay, ranged. This is just shadow striking into a fire pit to make it blow up. I choose the bursting arrow, so I can make a fire pit explode without going into it. I think it's much better than the other options. Freeze Pin. For this one, I choose Ologs. I didn't really find the others particularly useful. I guess the pin duration is doubled is quite good. You could use that if you want to, but being able to use it against Oleg High Captains is actually very useful. Bird of Prey. And then use this Talon Strike. So Talon Strike's really useful because it effectively works like Elven Light in the fact that you can build your Wrath by hitting multiple targets. So I would definitely recommend this if you're running a Wrathgiver build. Mighty Shot. This is one of those where the options are just all the different elements. I choose. Well, actually, there's not curse. Usually it's like fire, poison, and curse, but this one has freeze instead of curse. I choose freeze because a lot of high level forts and stuff, they're pretty much immune to all of them. But freeze is good for freezing smaller grunts and stuff like that, because fire and poison won't immediately get rid of them, whereas freezing immediately takes them out of the fight. Okay, Shadow Strike. For this, I choose Shadow Dominate. This is good when you're taking down hacked orcs and you don't have your might up to be able to press A and B to drain them using your might ability. So instead you can just use, I think it costs 2 arrows to do a Shadow Dominate. Shadow Strike's pull, that's very good when farming for Wrathgiver because you can pull the death threated captain up to a high vantage point so you can one-on-one fight them. And Chain of Shadows, I guess you could use that. I don't ever use that. Okay, onto the Wraith skills. Brace of Daggers. I honestly never use this. I put on Rain of Blades. I'm guessing someone in the comments could say, which one of these is better, but I honestly never use this combo. I always forget about it. Elven Light. If you're running a Wrathgiver build, it is absolutely essential that you do not equip one of the elements here, and you just keep it the unupgraded version, because that's what builds your Wrath. Pretty sure it's a bug, and if this game was still being patched, they'd probably fix this so that Wrathgiver isn't ridiculously broken. But yeah, make sure you don't select anything here. Ice Storm. So this is when you freeze them and do a sort of flurry of attacks. This is really good actually for taking out captains. When you're in Wrath mode, even if someone is immune to freeze, then you can actually stun them for enough time to start your flurry. So it's actually quite useful. I then do Shower of Ice. This will stop you getting attacked by grunts and stuff whilst you're doing it. I've experimented with some of the others, but didn't have too much luck. I think actually Critical Strike would be quite useful, but because I'm in Wrath mode, I'm usually quite quick anyway, and I have a high hit streak. So I think probably you want Shower of Ice or Frostbite here. Okay, Consume. This is the AB drain attack that I was talking about earlier. It'll be whatever it is, X and circle on PS on PlayStation controllers. I then go Olog Lord to be able to consume or dominate Ologs. You can honestly choose any of these. I think they're all sort of pretty similar. I choose Ologs because of Olog Captains. For hacked Olog Captains, if I break them, I want to take them over quickly. Okay, Treasure Hunter. Yeah, this is actually one of them things that at the start of the game you have to hold RB. I think it's so annoying. So when you get this upgraded, it's great. I then go Prospector. If you're farming for gear, you want Discerning Eye. I would never choose Mindbreaker personally. And then Prospector, if you're not farming for gear, you need Prospector on, because gems are really important for high level, because you want to have full choice of putting perfect gems on any of your gear, or whether you want green or red, depending, or white, depending on the situation. And when you want to re-roll gear, you need perfect gems, so absolutely put this on, unless you're farming for gear. Okay, Raise Dead. This is the XY attack. At the moment, I have it on Ologs, because I didn't need to resurrect any captains. But you can just hot swap this over to captains if you want to res them. I personally wouldn't put it on beasts. You want it on Olog or captains. Most of the time, to be honest, it's going to be on captain. Okay, mounted. To be honest, in high level forts, almost everyone you fight is going to be like immune to beasts, and they're going to kill them really quickly. So a lot of these aren't that important. So this is kind of all personal preference. I choose Bestial Rage. I don't know. The other one might be better. I really don't care. Graug Rider. I choose Devouring Force. So it restores more health. I guess Enduring Fury might also be quite good. Cool mount. I choose a Graug here. Drakes aren't actually very useful for forts, to be honest, and quite often you can get a Drake anyway. And Dire Caragors are not very good either. So I would get a Graug. You can use these guys to break down the fortress walls and the doors and stuff. So super useful for that. Shadow Mount. Unbroken Caragors. What's the other option? Oh yeah, when you mount a broken on it. Yeah. I think mounting Unbroken Caragors is good for taking them out of the fight quickly. Dragon Rider. Your Drake takes far less damage from attacks. That's what I'm currently using. Oh yeah, because instead the Fireball takes their health. These guys die really quickly against high level orcs anyway, so I don't really think it matters which one you choose. Okay, Draining. Here I do Draining or Dominating an enemy fully recovers health and gains Wrath. This is actually quite useful because there are some perks on items that, or I think it's on your ring, that Draining or Dominating recovers 100% more health, and you can replace that trait with this perk here. But to be honest, I think any of these options are good depending on the situation. Spectral Glaive. Okay, so this one is quite important. I use Deadly Striker. This will enable you to continually attack with the glaive for a while once you double charge it. This is really good for using crit damage to take down hacked orcs really quickly, and you can hit multiple people at once. So in terms of like DPS, this is really, really strong. Someone in the comments recently asked me about why don't I use Mighty Swing, but I think that that Deadly Striker is just the only option here personally. Okay, Ringwraith. This is what is called Elven Rage before you complete the campaign, so spoiler alert, but this game is like 7 years old or something, or 6 years old, so if you haven't completed the campaign by now, man, that's on you. Okay, Flame Weapon, Curse Weapon, Poison Weapon. This is, again, elemental. You can hot swap this, choose whatever you want. Shadow Strider, this is like double jumping. This is one of the big improvements in movement over the previous game, Shadow of Mordor. This feels so much nicer. You can get so much more distance off a jump. And then from this, Waters of Lorien, this is what I was talking about, the Mask of Undying. You can just dash through. Like, in high level, man, everyone's a Vault Breaker. So this is just so important. Call Followers. I do Bodyguard. I think the other options are awful in comparison to Bodyguard, especially if once you start taking on hacked forts, you capture some of them orcs, you put a hacked orc as your bodyguard. In case you really get in the shit, you bring him out and he'll just solve any problems you've got. And then finally, we have Dominate Captain. I choose Lifeblood. The others, so you can kill your followers or you can enrage them. And I don't want to accidentally press it, because sometimes when you press down on the D-pad to capture a position in Online Conquest, you can accidentally hold it or accidentally trigger this. So I'd rather heal my orcs than accidentally fucking kill them or something like that. Okay, I'm going to go up to the top now and Prestige. So on combat, this increases might recovery per hit. This is quite important. As you upgrade these Prestige skills, they will get diminishing returns in terms of the percentages. So you can see beyond level 50, you have 0.3% for each level up. and that probably decreases further on. A lot of them are fine to take to level 50 and then you get diminishing returns, but some of them have diminishing returns very, very early on. So you have to kind of prioritize them to maximize the game. But overall, this is a fairly important skill. It's not the most important of the 6, but it is fairly important. Okay, Predator, critical hit damage. This is probably, I would say, the most important. Critical hit damage is what will enable you to gold hacked forts and kill things quickly. Or even in the early stages, this will just allow you to kill hacked orcs, to be honest, because they have so much health. Critical hit damage is really important. Next up, ranged. As you can see, beyond level 50, you gain 0.12 focus recovery per hit. That is so negligible, like it doesn't even matter. So personally, I would get this to 50, or maybe not even to 50, and then just leave it till after some of the others are done. Wraith, this is health recovery per kill. With that ability I showed you earlier where you can drain and it fully recovers your health, this isn't really that important, to be honest, but it will enable your guy to be a little bit more tanky. Mounted Prestige. I've only recently started pouring some stats into this, to be honest. This has diminishing returns very quickly, so I'd probably level this up to like level 5 or level 10 and then leave it for a long time. And then finally, in the story category, you have Wrath recovery per kill. Now you can take this all the way up to level 50 before you get diminishing returns, and then the amount of percent gain halves. So it goes, well, I think it goes from like 1.09 down to like 0.6 what it is now. This is very important still to build Wrath. It's not as important because with Wrathgiver and the Elven Light non-elemental version, you don't need kills to get Wrath. You can just hit people with it and it counts as an execution. So yeah, overall I would say critical hit damage is the most important. The reason I've not got it to 100 is you can see they all end in a 4. As I get a point, I'm going to upgrade this one, and the next point we're going to that one, and so on and so forth. Mostly out of boredom because they really take a long time to level up, and you'll be on those prestige skills for a large amount of time. But in terms of the skill tree, that is everything I wanted to show you today. So thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It seems like you guys are absolutely loving the Shadow of War videos, which is really cool. So I really appreciate everything. And I'll have another video for you soon.